This is Sportscentre.
Hey, I'm Marissa Roberto, and this is the Sportscentre presented by Montana's Barbecue and Bar. Hockey fans, rejoice! The best few weeks of the year are here. It's the Stanley Cup Final. And if last season's 7-game battle between the Edmonton Oilers and Florida Panthers taught us anything, it's that we're in for a classic. The Oilers have had one focus all season: get back to the final. Now that they're here, let's talk about what's at stake for Edmonton this time around. Edmonton has been building toward this moment. Conference final appearance in 2022, Stanley Cup final appearance in 2024, but is 2025 the year they finally finish the job? History suggests it might be. In the last two Stanley Cup final rematches, the team that lost the first time came back and won the second. Back in 1983, Wayne Gretzky and the Oilers lost to the Islanders, and in '84 they flipped the script and took down the dynasty. Then in 2008, Sidney Crosby and the Penguins fell to the Red Wings. In 2009, they got their revenge and hoisted the cup. Now it's Connor McDavid's turn. Will he follow in the footsteps of hockey royalty? Everyone on the Oilers will feel pressure to break through, but maybe no one more than Corey Perry. This is Corey Perry's 5th Stanley Cup final appearance in the past 6 seasons, and the last 4 all ended in a heartbreak. Reaching the final this many times is no fluke, but you know he's desperate to change the ending. And now the big one. Can the Oilers bring the cup back to Canada for the first time since 1993? If Edmonton can finally break the curse, this team won't just be Stanley Cup champions. They'll be legends in Canadian hockey lore. While the Oilers have a chance to make history with a win in the final, the same is true if they lose. If Edmonton happens to fall short again, they'll become the first team since the Bruins in 1977-78 to lose back-to-back Stanley Cup finals. It's only happened 3 times in over 60 years, and none of those teams won a cup for at least 30 years after their consecutive losses. While it might feel like Edmonton's window is wide open, with franchise cornerstones Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid in their prime, history shows there are no guarantees. You never know when they'll get this chance again. They have to make it count. I've been saying, for my Westerners out there, it's Edmonton. It's gotta be. For more on the Cup Final, let's bring in our guy, Jesse Pollock, who joins us from Edmonton.
Hey, Risser.
Game 1 of the Cup Final in a Canadian city. What is the vibe like out there?
The vibes in Edmonton right now are immaculate. You can feel it. The fans are so hungry to bring the cup home back to Canada. But you know what? We've actually been around the teams more than we've been around fans so far, and you're getting a pretty loose vibe from both teams. You know, Florida, a team that's been here before, don't seem phased at all. And Edmonton, who was here last year, they haven't won it yet, but they're pretty loose. I'm sure having last year was really important for them. This year, they seem a little more comfortable. So I'm curious to see how the teams come out of the gate tonight. I don't know. It's going to be a good one.
A lot of McDavid haters have been hanging on to the he can't win the big one narrative. How important is this series for McDavid's legacy?
Yeah, I think this is a very important playoff series for Connor McDavid's legacy. This could be the first Stanley Cup he ever wins. I don't think this will be the last Stanley Cup final he ever goes to, though, with the Oilers. This could be the start of something crazy, but yeah, I mean, no one probably wants it more than Connor in this series. Very important for him, and he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that he's hoisting the Stanley Cup in a few weeks' time.
Jesse, thanks for joining us. I'm so jealous that you're out there. Enjoy it.
Thanks, Risser. Can't wait for tonight. Let's go!
I mean, I guess the louder you are in this building, the better gigs you get. Jesse just gets to go to the NHL Finals. Okay. We're just a day away from Game 1 of the NBA Finals, and things have already gone off to a strange start for the Pacers. According to Sports Illustrated's Chris Mannix, the Pacers team plane had to land in Tulsa to refuel after tornado warnings delayed their landing in OKC. When it was all said and done, they actually landed 3 hours later in OKC. And that's where we find our guys Chris Hein and Jevohn Shepherd with more on the finals.
Thanks, Risser. Jevohn, we are downtown Oklahoma City, where yesterday we were standing at this very spot when a tornado came in. We had to shelter inside.
All the sirens and everything.
Literally. Yeah. Like the sirens went off.
They treated us well. You know, we were in a nice little bunker. We got water. We felt comfortable. We felt safe. So Oklahoma's good with me.
It was, honestly, it was real Southern hospitality, and it was our first day, and
met some good people.
Yeah, met some
really
great
good people.
The people of Oklahoma City, you've been fantastic, especially when there's 3 tornadoes going around all around us. But we got to talk about the game. We're a day away, and to me, this NBA Finals is all about the Canadian content.
Yes.
And we have 4 Canadian players represented here. As you came up as a young Canadian basketball player, did you ever think Canadian basketball would be at this point?
No, you know what, I have to be real with you. I never thought it would be at this point because we never really seen it in front of us. We never seen the models in front of us. Yes, we've seen the Jamal McGores and the Steve Nashes, but we also never seen these type of players that were the grit guys, the tough guys. And for the longest time, you know, Canadians were said to be soft and, you know, not gritty. And I think these guys have done a really good, done a really good job of dispelling that notion there. You think about Lou Dort, he's a grit guy. Andrew Nemhard, Ben Matthews.
Feisty defenders,
gritty, tough guys for their respective teams. And obviously Shea, the MVP. So not only are they just good players, but impactful players and players that opponents fear across the NBA. So I think for me, yeah, it's always a dream, you know, as a young kid growing up, especially as a Canadian, to one day play in the NBA, but the impact these guys are having, and also as the tough guys on their team.
You mentioned the MVP in Shea, and it's been something truly special this season. Could be culminated with a finals win and maybe a finals MVP. I'm going to want to go back to the Olympics and that tough loss to France. Do you think something changed with Shea losing at such a high level that he maybe brought something extra into the season?
Yeah, I think, you know, 2 experiences with not just the Olympics, but 2 experiences with the Canadian national team that really helped his career. One, as a 16-year-old, I remember Jay Triano bringing him in, inviting him to camp. And at that point, he's a 16-year-old and he's playing against grown men, pros at the time. So it helps you realize, and you think your dream is the NBA. Now you're playing against pros, not only competing, but really doing your thing against those pros as a 16, 17-year-old. And then the experience at the Olympics. The last couple of years, I think he's been identified and recognized as one of the up-and-coming players. Going into the Olympics, he had established himself as the guy, right? He was runner-up for MVP going into the Olympics, so it was a different type of pressure that was on his shoulders, and I think you understand that. Like, you are responsible for not only your own success, but for the success of your team, for the success of your country. So that level of pressure that comes with that, then you lose in the quarterfinals, right? And he also said to the guys in the locker room after that, you know, he took that opportunity for granted, right? You only get that the next 4 years. So I think you, going into the season, you also understand the sense of urgency that you have to have as a leader.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I'm just wondering, I think I don't even have to ask, but a young Jevohn Shepherd probably got the best of a 16-year-old Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
I don't know about that.
Risser, back to you.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I did not expect that level of drama to begin that hit, but I'm happy that they're okay. Game 1 of the finals goes down tomorrow night. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, right here on TSN. The Canadian Shield kicks off Saturday. We'll see the Canadian men's soccer team host a pair of international friendlies over a span of 4 days. Saturday afternoon, Canada will face off against Ukraine, followed by a match against the Ivory Coast on Tuesday. To get us set for the weekend's action, let's bring in our Canada soccer reporter, Matthew Scianitti. Shooter, Canada will be without some of their regulars this weekend. So what new faces could benefit from playing time during these friendlies?
All right, Marissa, the race for the roster really starts now this summer, looking ahead to 2026. So here are 3 names you're likely going to get to know this summer. Luke Defoe plays for Fulham's Youth Academy. Look for him in central defense. Lots of speed, lots of athleticism. Jesse Marsh loves this kid. CF Montreal's Nathan Saliba could get a lot more playing time in central midfield. It's been a rotating cast of characters: Ismael Kone, Mathieu Chouanier, and Stephen Eustachio. Marsh wants to get Saliba a lot of playing time. If you've seen this kid, he has a ton of talent. And if you don't know who Promise David is up front, you're going to get to know him real quick. 19 goals in the Belgian League, helped Union Saint-Gilloise win the Belgian League title. A ton of charisma. He can score goals, but Jesse Marsh wants him to do a whole lot more in terms of speed and pressing and defense. Let's see if he can handle it.
Unfortunately for Canada, Captain Alphonso Davies is sidelined with that torn ACL. So who can we see step into a leadership role in his absence?
Yeah, and let me add to that list Jonathan Osorio and Alistair Johnston and Stephen Eustachio and Jonathan David, who all might not consistently be playing with Canada throughout the summer. Some of them have injuries: Jonathan Osorio and Alistair Johnston. Stephen Eustachio is playing at the Club World Cup, and Jonathan David has that transfer saga. So let's look at Richie Laryea and Kyle Aaron as 2 names with substantial amount of experience who could help Jesse Marsh as he wants to rotate this squad, which could have a lot of youth at some points during the Canadian Shield and especially during the Gold Cup.
Matthew, always a pleasure.
Appreciate you, Marissa.
For tickets to the Canadian Shield, head to Ticketmaster. Or if you're watching us on Instagram, click the link below. Time now for Saucy Sounds, presented by Montana's Barbecue and Bar. Back to hockey as we're getting set for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. And let's just say the Panthers locker room has some character. Even before the trade deadline, they had personalities like Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Bennett, and then the absolute quote machine of Paul Maurice. Today, Maurice spoke about how Seth Jones and Brad Marchand had fit into their group.
But that room that we have is so welcoming, and so your personality fits almost no matter what it is. As long as you do the handful of things we all do together, there's not a problem. The more unusual your personality, the more you're going to fit in our room. As long as you do those 4 or 5 things, then everybody gets to be themselves. So both Seth and he's a quieter man than Brad, but we all are. Now I was just going to say, but relative to the rest of us, but he's been fantastic in that because he can just be himself, and we absorb that.
First of all, Paul Maurice is a quote machine, okay? Every time he speaks, I'm jealous that he is not my coach, just personally in my own life. But having Brad Marchand in the room, the guy's always jokes, always keeping it light. That's what you want in a locker room. Oh, God, I hate that I'm jealous of Florida. That's it for me. We'll see you up here tomorrow, 3 Eastern, New Pacific. Have a good one.